Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. Gold prices plunge on track for their biggest single-day drop in 5 years. Former House Speaker Martin Romualdez and the Maharlika Investment Corporation deny any links to a financier allegedly connected to the 1MDB scandal. And in Paris, French authorities say that the crown jewels stolen from the Louvre are worth more than $100 million. Let's take a look at how global financial markets performed overnight. U.S. stocks ended mixed. The Dow led gains as strong earnings from big industrials lifted sentiment. Third quarter results from giants like General Motors, GE, Aerospace, 3M, and Coca-Cola came in mostly positive. But with major indexes near record highs and valuations already stretched, even solid earnings may not be enough to keep buyers charging in.
I think the market's broadening out here a bit. We've seen earnings now from GM, for instance, and 3M today that have produced upside surprises. I think the market really is kind of eyeing value in the market right now, and the Mag 7 stocks, have kind of taken a bit of a respite here. So we're seeing a little bit of a broadening out. I think an expectation of continuation of rate cuts is also driving the market. That's going to play a big role here going forward.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 0.5%, the S&P 500 flat, and the Nasdaq lower by 0.2%. Over in Europe, markets closed higher. The FTSE 100 up by 0.25%, Germany's DAX up by 0.3%, and France's CAC 40 up by 0.6%. Now, gold prices are falling sharply, on track for their biggest drop in 5 years. The precious metal hit a record high of $4,381.21 on Monday, boosted by global tensions, expectations of lower interest rates, and strong central bank buying. But traders are now turning cautious as they wait for the U.S. inflation report, delayed by the government shutdown. The report is expected to show prices up 3.1% from a year ago, with markets betting the Federal Reserve will cut rates next week. For emerging markets like the Philippines, a weaker gold price could also signal a shift in global capital flows and may affect investor demand for safe haven assets. Now, here at home, another twist in the flood control and 1MDB controversies. Former House Speaker Martin Romualdez and the Maharlika Investment Corporation are denying alleged links to Patrick Mahoney, the British-Swiss financier identified as a key player in the Malaysia 1MDB corruption scandal, a billion-dollar fraud that drained the Malaysian state fund and toppled a government. A Malaysia-based investigative news site reported that Mahoney has been advising officials behind the Maharlika Investment Fund and was frequently seen in Manila with Martin Romualdez. The MIC dismissed the story as false and potentially damaging, while Romualdez called the claims entirely unfounded, misleading, and malicious. The former speaker is also among officials tagged in the multi-billion peso flood control scandal, currently under investigation by the Ombudsman and the AMLC. A clear warning from the Ombudsman: no one linked to the flood control scandal can cut a deal without first returning the public funds in full. Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla says those facing cases will be required to pay back every single peso they stole if they want to enter into a plea bargaining agreement. Remulla added that there are already complaints involving 5 flood control projects now under preliminary investigation by his office. The Ombudsman said that the review of these complaints should not drag on for as long as a year. Remulla laments that in the last 15 years, the government has lost close to 600 billion pesos from cases dismissed in court due to inordinate delays in prosecution. Another ethics scandal is rocking the government. The Office of the Ombudsman has launched an investigation into Commission on Audit Commissioner Mario Depana and his wife. The probe centers on their alleged involvement in government projects through Olympus Mining Corporation, where Lipana's wife, Marilu, serves as president and general manager. Reports show that the company secured 22 public works contracts worth nearly 1.9 billion pesos between 2023 and 2025. The case raises fresh questions about conflicts of interest and the integrity of audit oversight in a government still grappling with massive corruption allegations. Pressure builds around the flood control scandal as calls grow to probe possible links to figures close to Malacanang. The Independent Commission for Infrastructure says it will only invite First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos to its investigation if there is sufficient and competent basis to do so. The statement comes after a private citizen, John Santander, urged the commission to investigate her alleged connection to Maynard Ngu, the president's special envoy to China, who has been linked to kickbacks in the ongoing flood control scandal. In a letter, Santander claimed Araneta, Marcos, and Ngu were seen together at several events, including a 2022 fundraiser he said raised about 5 million pesos per donor for Marcos's campaign. The ICI said it has yet to review the letter and will proceed only if the allegations are verified. So far, there has been no comment from the First Lady, Malacanang, or Ngu. As the government tightens its crackdown on corruption in public works, another key figure in the flood control scandal is coming under a microscope. The Anti-Money Laundering Council is flagging former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo for suspicious cash-heavy transactions and a sudden exit from the banking system at the height of the controversy. The AMLC found that Bernardo stopped using bank accounts between 2020 and 2022, despite his promotion in what they called a deliberate cover-up. He reportedly held 39 bank accounts, 59 properties, and multiple insurance policies, all now frozen by court order. To recall, District Engineer Henry Alcantara claimed Bernardo collected millions in kickbacks and delivered money to several lawmakers and officials. Bernardo filed for early retirement just weeks after President Marcos exposed the corruption scheme. Now, the country's biggest business groups are drawing the line, demanding accountability and real action against corruption. On the final day of the 51st Philippine Business Conference and Expo, top executives warned that public trust and the country's credibility are now on the line. Carlo Barcelon has the details.
4 resolutions were approved on the last day of the 51st Philippine Business Conference in Pasay City on Tuesday. The first resolution calls for good governance and strong action against corruption. Business leaders believe unabated and excessive corruption must be eliminated by strengthening monitoring, transparency, and accountability mechanisms at all levels of governance. They also urged the adoption of open governance systems and the strict accountability of all those involved in corruption. The second resolution focuses on digitalization and innovation, including the implementation of the National AI and Digital Transformation Roadmap, strengthening the country's digital infrastructure, such as cellular and internet facilities and data centers, especially in areas with weak or limited connectivity, and promoting digital and AI literacy. The group also passed resolutions on the agriculture sector and on the ease of doing business to make it simpler to start and sustain enterprises. According to Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion III, the calls from MSMEs and the business community are crucial to restore the Philippines' business image following the flood control scandal.
It will take time. It will take time, but I think hopefully people learn from this, what happened. And there are a lot of people out here, Filipino people, who are really challenged, especially our micro entrepreneurs who earn just enough to live that day.
Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin read the president's message, saying the administration is committed to fix the corruption mess.
By embracing digitalization, we reduce opportunities for corruption. By minimizing human interaction, automated systems ensure consistency, while digital platforms make transactions treasury.
Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon, meanwhile, called for support from the private sector. Dizon stressed reforms have already started at the DPWH to end corruption and that the business sector should also help monitor government projects.
Wala tayong sisinuin, wala tayong sasantuin. Kahit sino pa. Those were the exact words of the President himself. Ikalawa po, kailangan po mabalik ang pera ng mga kababayan natin. Ang pera nating lahat, kailangan po maibalik.
The calls from the PCCI and the entire Philippine business community are crucial as every government action affects the lives and livelihoods of all Filipinos. As they say, for every peso, there must be accountability and corruption must have its limits. Paulo Barcelon, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Political turbulence, corruption concerns, earthquake risks, and a market still struggling to find its footing. The Philippine economy is growing, but stability is looking fragile. Investor confidence is slipping, policy uncertainty remains high, and the ever-present threat of earthquakes and natural disasters could set us back in an instant. On top of that, global headwinds from trade tensions to tariff shocks continue to test our resilience. And all this as the country gears up for its biggest market event in years, the Maynilad IPO, a crucial test of investor confidence amid all of this volatility. So how much risk can the economy really take, and where are the opportunities hiding? Joining us today is Reyes Tacandong and Company's senior advisor, Jonathan Rovelas. Hi, Jonas. Thanks for being here with us.
Good morning, Mikey. Good morning to your listeners.
Okay, Jonas, the PSC index is at 60.66 right now. It seems that both confidence and conviction are razor thin. How would you assess things at this junction?
Well, as I said, the challenge really at this point in time, we're currently in a holding pattern until such time we get to see more details of how we're addressing this corruption issue. So we'll be range bound. It's just that 6.1, I think, at the moment is our resistance from what used to be a 6,300 3 months ago.
Jonas, how much of this weakness is sentiment-driven versus fundamentals?
Oh, this is purely sentiment. As I said in our last interview, we're currently in a holding pattern, and the corruption issue is clouding the outlook.
Yeah, investors hate uncertainty. Foreign funds, what are foreign funds doing? They leaving? Are they just waiting? Are they they're waiting for us to clean up and do away with all of this drama? What's your take on this?
Well, basically, they're just waiting on the sidelines, probably looking at an opportunity to get in. Once things are settled, they'll probably, look at it immediately because, the market in itself is quite cheap relative to our regional peers.
That's right. We are cheap relative to our regional peers because investors like predictability. And so Vietnam and Indonesia are outpacing us in terms of investor confidence. Can the country still attract foreign investment if capital is tightening and risk premiums are rising?
Oh, well, basically, yes, because, our economy is resilient, particularly consumers. Now that inflation is actually manageable, we could see that consumer resilience should return, and this fourth quarter would have been a very good model for it because it's Christmas time.
Yeah, this should be a very good time for the market, but we've been range bound, seeing no conviction at about under 6,100. The rate cuts, they don't seem to be enough. And with the Monetary Board meeting in December, do you think that another 25 bips cut is in the offing given all the volatility?
Yes, I believe that they'll probably cut rates by another quarter point, mainly because they need to slowly aid the economy to ensure that we could still deliver that 5.5% to 6% growth moving forward.
And Jonas, what kind of policy reform or signal do we need to see to bring investors back from the sidelines?
Well, I think what we really need to see is accountability, and there is an end result out of this corruption issue. I think what we need is a proof of concept of how the government will address this corruption issue. So we've seen a lot in the past, just like any K-drama, the season ends, whether it's PDAF, we talk about the issue of Farmally, and it stops there. What we need to be able to do, and this comes with optimism with the new ombudsman, that he will look into these cases and get criminal cases filed against these people, and eventually seeing the end that someone will go to jail. That will be a very strong signal to investors that we really mean to make the necessary changes.
That's right. Yeah, you mentioned corruption has become habitual in the country after naming all these scandals that just come one after the other. On another front, Jonas, there's the Maynilad IPO, perhaps the last bastion of hope for the year. It's going to be the biggest listing in years. From where you stand, is this going to be seen as a vote of confidence in the market, or should it be seen as a defensive play, it being a utility firm?
Well, basically, I guess it's a good, it's a bold move for investors. This is something to look into. It's just that, again, if people are looking at, the value, then definitely you're not gonna get your returns immediately. It will take time.
And how are investors reading that 15% offer price, despite the backing of cornerstone investors, IFC, the ADB, at 15 pesos? It looks like it's just priced to move.
Oh, well, basically, I guess you have to understand it's very difficult in a market that, your forward PEs for the market are at around 8 to 9 times. And eventually trying to look for a good value for your stock. And despite the fact that, these are utility companies, you couldn't get the value you want. So, but just the same, I think this is something to look forward to for investors. And this is a stock you want to hold over the medium term. So the gains that you'll probably see are quite limited in the short term, but for the long term, this is something you want to keep.
Yeah, that's right. Infra utilities, they're built for volatility, and when things get better, they're pretty quick to bounce back. On another front, Jonas, last question. Let's talk about the peso. We're at about 58.26. That was Tuesday's close. How big of a concern right now is the peso for equities and for consumer confidence at this level?
Well, basically, the peso is one of those indicators that when there's a political issue, tends to react immediately. However, the peso's movement today is quite, shall I say, range bound. When this floodgate came out, the peso went all the way to 58.49, and we've slightly gone below 57.90. So I think this is a fairly well stable currency at this point in time. What we saw in the last 2 days was primarily more external when given that in Japan there's a new, the first female prime minister, so that created some uncertainties in the near term, causing the dollar to strengthen and the yen to weaken. So it's more of external than something internal that's happening to us.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, the shifts in Asia, in Japan particularly, and the stronger greenback are really weakening. And so it's interesting to note that a lot of it is actually external rather than internal. Jonas, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. Have a great day.
We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. Let's check on how Asian markets are doing this morning. Right now, the Nikkei 225 is in the red, lower by 0.6%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index down as well, down by 0.7%, a bit more there. And Shanghai's Composite not down by as much, but still in the red, down by 0.2%. Singapore's Straits Times Index flat with a slight upward bias. Taking a look at our market, yesterday Yesterday, the PSE index staged a modest recovery, Wednesday ending a 4-day losing streak as bargain hunters returned to pick up beaten down stocks. Main gauge closed slightly higher at 60.93, but analysts say sentiment remains guarded amid weak global cues, political uncertainty, and lingering concerns over capital flows and corporate earnings. Value turnover stayed light, a sign that investors are still waiting for stronger catalysts before taking bigger positions. In the near term, the market is expected to move sideways between a tight band of 6,000 and 6,150, with buyers likely to re-enter only if new data or earnings point to stronger growth momentum. Taking a look at the main gauge this morning, as of 10:23, the PSE index is trading to the downside, down by 0.5% to 60.60. The broader all shares in the red as well, by as much, down by 0.5% to 36.40. Taking a look at the sub-indices, all are trading to the downside except for the holding firms counter, which is limiting the market's decline slightly. It's higher by 0.2%. Total volume traded is at 290 million shares, valued at 698 million pesos. Market breadth is bearish with 92 decliners, 44 advancers, and 41 stocks unchanged. Taking a look at the currencies, the peso opened at 58.30 against the greenback, down from its previous close of 58.23. As the Philippines pushes to become a regional digital hub, one of the country's leading fiber broadband providers is expanding its footprint beyond Luzon. Converge ICT Solutions Incorporated, known for its nationwide fiber network, is planning to build new data centers in the Visayas or Mindanao to bring cloud services closer to customers. CEO Dennis Anthony Uy said that the company is now identifying potential locations for its next facility targeted for the South, to make services more accessible to enterprises and consumers outside of Luzon. The proposed data center is expected to start with a 20-megawatt capacity, scalable up to 100 megawatts as digital demand continues to rise. Converge currently operates a 10-megawatt facility in Pampanga with about 1,200 racks and a 3-megawatt data center in Caloocan, which recently earned a Tier 3 design certification. The company earlier set a 25 billion peso capital expenditure budget for 2025, focused on subsea cable investments and data center expansion. This as it positions to support the country's growing digital economy. As consumer credit continues to grow, Toyota Financial Services Philippines taps the local bond market for the first time, raising 5 billion pesos from investors. The fundraising marks the company's entry into the domestic capital market as it expands its car financing operations across the country. The 2- and 3-year fixed-rate bonds carry interest rates of 5.77% and 5.94% per year. Strong investor demand, more than 3 times the initial offer size, prompts the company to exercise its oversubscription option, bringing the total issue to 5 billion pesos. Toyota Financial says that the proceeds will strengthen its balance sheet and support new loans for customers and dealer partners nationwide. This marks the first tranche under its 20 billion peso bond program. Metrobank retains its title as the strongest bank in the Philippines, earning the honor from the Asian Banker for the 5th straight year. The recognition places Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company at the top of the publication's 2025 list of the world's strongest banks. The Asian Banker cites the lender's robust balance sheet, high asset quality, strong capital base, and solid liquidity as signs of sound management and resilience amid changing market conditions. It also notes Metrobank's wide branch and digital network, along with its long-standing corporate and institutional partnerships that continue to drive growth. In news overseas, more on that high-profile heist in Paris. The jewelry stolen from the Louvre Museum is now estimated to be worth 88 million euros, or about $102 million. Paris prosecutor Laure Becco told a French radio that the loot, which included pieces from the French crown jewels dating back to the Napoleonic era, was valued by the museum's curator. She said that the loss is spectacular in economic terms, but the historical damage is far greater. About 100 investigators are now involved in the manhunt to track down the thieves behind the daylight robbery last Sunday. Experts fear that the jewels may never be recovered, although authorities warn that any attempt to dismantle or melt them down would diminish their value. The Louvre remains closed until Wednesday. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.